Hello and welcome, this is EagleEye621, and today I'm going to be showing you how to get God Armor even if you are no longer in Java 1.14.1 or point .2 in your world. That could be because you lost all the God Armor you have, or you forgot to make it in the versions, or you maybe started a little bit too late. So I'm going to be showing you two different ways for you to be able to get that God Armor. This video is actually a very special one to me because as of the publishing of this video, it was a year ago to the day when I published my first video, which was about how to properly combine the enchantment books in order to be able to make God Armor in survival. So 1 year later, with 24,000 plus subscribers, which is way more than I thought I would ever get, and almost a quarter way to that silver play button. So if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to scroll down and hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. And I think I have another video coming out pretty soon I think most of you are going to be pretty interested in. So let's get right into it. And as you can see, as I turn around, this is the version 1.16. It's the pre-release 6. Now, do be sure to check the video description. I will keep that up to date with what versions this works in. It does work in 1.15, works in any of the 1.14 versions past the 1.14.2, and it does, of course, work in this 1.16. Now, I'm also going to slap some gold nether ore down here, which will become important in a moment, and you'll see why. And now, it's also important to take a look at the chords. And here we're about 300, 300. This first way that we're going to do it, you are going to want to fly far away from your base to make sure that you don't load any of your current chunks, because we're actually going to be resetting this a bit. Now, if you don't know how to make a backup of your world, I will tell you, do not try this. This can corrupt your world. It shouldn't, but it can. So if you don't know how to make a backup and do a restore, then you need to just stop right there and go watch a video on how to do that. I will show you that briefly as well. So now we have something that's not compatible in the 1.14.2 version. So if this chunk is going to be loaded, that's going to be bad news. So now let's put our chords back up here. And let me face forward. And let us fly maybe in this direction to go back to around 0, 0. Of course, if this is in your main world, you are going to want to stay away from your spawn chunks because probably you have some buildings there. You may even want to think about going into the end somewhere that you wouldn't load your spawn chunks, but far enough away that we are away from anything that is not compatible in that world here at 0, 0. Now keep in mind that the chunks you are in may look a little funky and get corrupted, so make sure it's somewhere that you don't plan on being and you haven't been before. Now also, when you come here, you're going to want to come with all of the materials that you're going to need in order to make the God Armor, because you're basically going to be imprisoned within whatever chunk that you step. The more you explore, the more damage you might do to your world. So I'm going to link a video in the description that shows you the books you need and how to combine it. And that again is my very first video. And I'm also going to look some of my Shaky Sand XP farms, because those will work in the version that we're going. That's a good way to get all the XP you're going to need, or to set up a AFK fish farm, and I'll link to one of those as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to quit this game right here. Now, if you don't know how to do a backup, you click on this, and you go into your edit here, and then you can make a backup, and it'll make a backup for you. You should always have backups of your games. That's very important. Now we're going to cancel this. We're going to quit here, and we're going to load up Minecraft again, but this time we're going to do it in the 1.14.2 version, just like this. And we're going to play that. And let this load up for a moment. And you can see we have some Minecraft worlds over here that we'll get to in a minute with our second way to do it, with our receiving and transfer worlds. It's going to take a moment for the game to load, of course. But you'll notice that our loading screen is, of course, appropriate to the 1.14 version. It's not that red of the 1.16 versions that we have now in the snapshots and the pre-release. So now we're going to go back to our single player world, and you'll notice we have some red text here, and it's telling us something is bad because we're going to try and load something that shouldn't be loaded. Again, if you have not made a backup, you do want to make a backup because this may corrupt your world. We're going to load it. The game is going to tell us it's probably a bad idea because it could cause corruption, but we're going to load it anyways. And you may notice that the chunks that we are in may not be the ones that we were just in before. As I said, changing these versions can cause certain issues, so just be prepared for that. You may also end up spawning a little bit high in the air or even in a mountain. It's typically not going to happen in the way you're doing it here, but just be prepared to dig out or to put some water down to brace your fall in case you need to. Give the game a second to load, and you can see things do look different, but that's okay. Because these were chunks that we didn't care about in the first place, we didn't have anything important here. The important chunks are over at 300, and we don't want to do anything to move from this spot. So now I have some stuff right here. Just has the armor already in it. As I said, I have those videos linked down below and in the iCards that'll show you how to make this god armor, just like this. And also you can make just some basically display pieces that you wouldn't ever want to actually use because it has the curses. So let's grab those into our inventory. We can even put some of it on if we want to. Let's go with the stuff that's not going to be stuck forever. And once you have made all the god armor that you want, you can come in here and then we're going to go back into the future. Now, before you do this, you should have loaded up your ender chest to be able to carry all the things that you didn't need. If you did not prepare your ender chest, and let me just quit and restart as we do this, we're going to go back this way. And we're going to load it back up in whatever your current version is. So that's the latest snap. Now, if you had anything in your ender chest that was not around in the game in 1.14, you're going to want to take that out of your ender chest before you reloaded the game back to 1.14. That's just one of those things that's going to help you try and avoid the corruption of your game. And now we have our red loading screen. And let's go back into single player. And you can see the latest version it was played in is an earlier version than we thought. But we can load this up. It's going to ask if you want to create a backup. At this point, it doesn't really matter because you should have already made the backup. But in your real game, it never hurts to have an extra. So you can go ahead and do that. And then as we load this into our current 1.16, you will see again that the chunks we left are more likely to be the same as the ones we're about to enter right now. But again, those also might change because of the versions and we did going back and forth the first time. But you can see we do have our over, and we also have the armor that we put on and we're wearing. Of course, the most important thing here is if we've ended up corrupting our world. So let's fly back to 300, as the game is going to have some issues loading, but that's okay. Just going to fly full speed there to see exactly if our marker blocks are still here, and indeed they are. So we did not corrupt this world, we did not have any loss of our structures, but again, in your real world, you are going to want to look around and make sure everything is as you left it before you move on and you save and you continue. Now, this has been one way to do it. There is, of course, one more way, as I mentioned, and that involves some file manipulation Not too bad. It's maybe a little bit more cheaty than this version, but it is a little bit safer to do than the other way. So now let's exit this world and let's load up our God Armor Receive world. And you can see that we are in the pre-release 6. That's Java 1.16. And we have currently nothing. So now let's also just grab an Ender chest, because this will become important as I show you a little bit later. And let's just fly somewhere we can put it down, and put it down right here. And there's nothing in the Ender chest, but again, let's just grab some blocks. And let's put some sand. Let's not put the warped nylium in there because I just don't want to, frankly. So now let's get rid of that. And you can see that we don't have anything in our inventory right now. And we do have just these two things in our Ender chest. Now, as you're preparing to do this, you're going to want to empty your Ender chest and also empty your inventory. You want to make sure you don't have anything on you or in your Ender chest, because they will be deleted as we do this. So in fact, let's just grab a grass block, just like this, so you can see that we do have some stuff, and you'll see what happens as we go forward. Now we're going to quit this world, and we're going to load our game into our Java 1.14.2. And you can load now any world that you're interested in. You can make a fresh world, you can make it in creative mode, you can do whatever you want. You're not going to load the world that's going to be receiving the God Armor. So you can see we now have our white screen loading screen because we're back in one of the earlier versions. And it'll take a second for this to load as well. And when it does load, we're going to be loading the version that I have as the giving version. But again, you can do this with any of the versions you want. I just have a transfer version and the receive version. This transfer version is already in our proper 1.14.2. You can make that 1.14.1. That doesn't matter. And as we load this version up, you'll see that it can be a fresh world, it can be a creative mode world. This doesn't ultimately matter right now, but you can see that we have nothing in our inventory right now. What you're going to do is you're going to load up this character with whatever it is you want to transfer over. So again, I'm going to take this box I have right here, and we're going to grab the armor out of it, just like this. We're also going to have an Ender chest so that we can do that as well. And with our Ender chest, we're just going to put a couple of these boxes in there, because as long as we're going to be transferring, we might as well transfer a whole bunch of sets of God Armor. And now we're going to quit from this version. Again, you may have the issue of when you join the next version that you may join higher in the air than you think you should be. So just be careful. Generally speaking, you can see right now we're at negative 230, negative 136. You can see we're at, let's make it Y level 100. This version that you leave is going to be the coordinates that you enter in your other world. So now we're going to save and quit on this version. We're also going to quit here. And now we need to access our Minecraft folder. You're looking for your saved worlds. Now in your transfer, this is the one you made the items in. You're going to want to take the player data folder and your level.dat, these two files. We're going to copy them. And then we're going to go into our saveds again, into our receives file, and we're going to paste them in here. So let's delete the player data and delete the level.dat and paste these two in there. And then we can go back. Now we can load up our game. and load it back into the current version that you are. You are going to notice, however, that the name of your world is going to change. So you'll see that when we load that up. It's going to take a minute. We have our red screen showing we again are in our Java 1.16 version. And then as we load up our single player, we now have two of these transfer worlds, which is kind of strange, but this is the one that we're looking for. And you should have already made some backups just because things can go wrong. But I'm just clicking that I know what I'm doing for this version. And you can see that when we pop in, if this will load, it's taken a moment because we've changed some of those game files. So it's figuring everything out right now. We are going to be in a different place than where we were before. And that is right here. Now, as you can see, we are in the coordinates that we left on the other spot. But if you look at our inventory matches what it was when we left. And if you look at our ender chest, you can see the ender chest also matches when we left. So we deleted those other blocks that were in here. We deleted anything in our inventory, and we switched. And just in case you want to check if it's the other world, you can see that that's the one that we were just in. We can go back to this one, also say I know what I'm doing, and let this one load, and you'll see that we are back in the original one that was the one we made the armor in order to transfer it to the other one. So now you can see that both of those worlds, both the transfer and the other one, it's exactly the same. Because what we did was we copied our player's character data into the other world. So both of those worlds now have identical player data. So you've taken the God armor that you made in 1.14 and you've transferred it into your 1.16 world or your 1.15 world or whatever it is world in the future that you want. Now, of course, you can upgrade this to Netherite God armor, and there'll be another link down below which will show you how to do that, as well as another iCard on the screen. And that's all there is to it. Again, be sure to back up your worlds before you do anything. In case you corrupt your worlds, you can just put the backups back into place and move on with your game. If you found this video interesting and helpful, I would appreciate a like, and maybe even consider sharing it with one of your friends. And for more videos like this, do be sure to subscribe. And here is to another year of making YouTube videos, maybe this coming year even with that silver play button. Who knows? Thanks for stopping by.